do some restorative postures. And I know that's unusual for a Monday morning, but I think that might be a really cool thing to try to figure out how to bring rest into the week instead of like, it's Monday morning, I need the caffeine and let's go. And see what kind of other energy you can cultivate this week. So I want to read a little something from David White, Constellations. I've read this from this book before to you all, and this is about rest. So restorative poses often, some people, when, it's rare, I haven't taught a restorative class in a long time now, but every once in a while, when we were in person, I would throw one out there, and some people were like, yes, restoratives, and other people like, oh no, restoratives. So, just know what kind of camp you're in. Are you go, 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 and it's hard to calm your mind down, and a restorative pose is very challenging for you from that perspective? Or are they like, oh, thank goodness I get to rest now, and a deep coming home inside of you? So whatever camp you live in, or maybe you live in both and vacillate back and forth, that's what we're doing today. So it's the offering, so it's something to receive. And I want to read to you about what he has to say about rest. Rest is the conversation between what we love to do and how we love to be. Rest is the essence of giving and receiving, an act of remembering, imaginatively and intellectually, but also psychologically and physically. To rest is to give up on the already exhausted will as the prime motivator of endeavor, with its endless outward need to reward itself through established goals. To rest is to give up on worrying and fretting and the sense that there is something wrong with the world unless we are there to put it right. To rest is to fall back literally or figuratively from outer targets and shift the goal not to an inner static bullseye, an imagined state of perfect stillness, but to an inner state of natural exchange. The template of natural exchange is the breath, the autonomic giving and receiving that forms the basis and the measure of life itself. We are rested when we are a living exchange between what lies inside and what lies outside. When we are in intriguing conversation between the potential that lies in our imagination and the possibilities for making that internal image real in the world. We are rested when we let things alone and let ourselves alone to do what we do best, breathe as the body intended us to breathe, to walk as we were meant to walk, to live with the rhythm of a house and a home, giving and taking through cooking and cleaning. When we give and take in an easy foundational way, we are closest to the authentic self, and closest to that self when we are most rested. To rest is not self-indulgent. To rest is to prepare, to give the best of ourselves, and to perhaps most importantly, arrive at a place where we are able to understand what we have already been given. In the first state of rest is the sense of stopping, of giving up on what we've been doing or how we've been being. In the second stage is the sense of slowly coming home, the physical journey into the body's uncoerced and unbullied self, as if trying to remember the way or even the destination itself. In the third state is a sense of healing and self-forgiveness and of arrival. In the fourth state, deep in the primal exchange of the breath, is the give and the take, the blessing and the being blessed, and the ability to delight in both. The fifth stage is a sense of absolute readiness and presence, a delight in and an anticipation of the world and all its forms, a sense of being the meeting itself between inner and outer, and that receiving and responding occur in one spontaneous movement. A deep experience of rest is the template of perfection in the human imagination, a perspective from which we're able to perceive the outer specific forms of our work and our relationships, while being nourished by the shared foundational gift of the breath itself. From this perspective, we can be rested while putting together an elaborate meal for an arriving crowd, whilst climbing the highest mountain, or sitting at home surrounded by the chaos of a loving family. Rested, we are ready for the world, but not held hostage by it. Rested, we care again for the right things and the right people in the right way. In rest, we reestablish the goals that make us more generous, more courageous, more of an invitation, someone we want to remember, and someone others would want to remember too. So sit up straight and tall and come into this sensation of your breath. Breathe deeply. If this breath is our tool to go deeper into those stages of restoration, and really this is what we find in the restorative poses of yoga, these layers. First, just stopping. Second, this sense of coming into communion with the breath, where healing, forgiveness, presence, awareness starts to grow. And we just keep peeling the layers to the point where we feel that deep connection between the inner and outer worlds. So let's start with the breath. Start with this sense of observing, of being mindful of the way you feel in your mind, in your body. Can you let the breath permeate all your cells? Find where your breath can go. See where your breath can't go. Is there any places that you're restricted in? And it's okay. Let this just be a noticing. Let the shoulders drop. Take away some of the burdens that you carry. Imagine your skin slippery, where anything that is a worry, a heavy weight upon you can just slide. Slide right off of you, off your fingertips, off your feet, off your shoulders. And as always in our practice, see if you can marry your breath. Just be fully present as often as you can. Just keep coming home to the presence of your breathing. Soft, full belly, supple rib cage that can move freely. Let's place your palms together at your heart, and as you create an intention for your practice, where can rest support you? What out of those words that I read by David White resonated with you? What do you need? How do you need to be nourished? And then let's release the hands and come to lie down on your back. All right. So see what it feels like to find the sense of ease. But wait, before you go lying down on your back, gather up everything you need for restorative poses. I threw you for a loop saying we're going to do restorative. So if you need blankets or pillows, or if something is in the other room or just across the room, go grab what you need now so that you have some props to use for our restorative poses. And then we'll give everybody a chance to go rummaging around in their house and come back. Kind of like a little scavenger hunt, see what you can find to support you. And then once you come back, just lie down on your back. Let's just take a moment to feel the deep rest that comes just by the simple act of lying down on the ground. Let's start to feel your weight. So, what weights easily? Is there a part of your body that when you say just drop, it drops? Is there a part of your body that when you say just drop, it doesn't drop? So let's just notice where our tension patterns typically lie. And then feel into all your joints. See if you can just allow the joints to feel spacious and free. Feel where you're weighted on the ground, the base of the back of your head, the shoulder blades, maybe your elbows or forearms, perhaps the backs of your hands, your knuckles. Maybe you can feel a piece of your spine resting on the ground in between your shoulder blades. Maybe you feel the backs of your ribs a little bit. See what it feels like to feel the heaviness of your pelvis, where your pelvis is touching, your sacrum. Can you feel the backs of your legs at all? Maybe the backs of your calves, all the way down to the bottom of your heels. So anywhere the earth and you meet, or the floor and you meet, surrender. Then come back into the full breath. Hopefully everyone's back by now from your scavenger hunt for props. So let's find the deep breath here. Notice if breath is easier when you're horizontal versus vertical. And then as you're ready, stretch your arms and lengthen through your body. Stretch the left side, stretch the right side. Come into the feeling of opening up, feeling the breath and how it changes. How does presence shift when you stretch your body? And let our warm up today be all about cultivating presence. No destinations, just here. And then bring your knees into your chest and rock a little bit. Sway side to side. Check in with how you're feeling. Does the rocking feel nice or no? How's your back? How is your sacrum, your hips, your knees, all the places that are moving into some flexion right now or just compression on the floor? And circle your knees one direction and enjoy this. Find your breath. And then go the other direction. So you know we're going to do restorative. So see if you can slow yourself down to just enjoy the things that we often do so quickly because we're habit in our warm-up. See if you can bring your presence to them. Right knee into your chest and roll around in your feet. Swivel through your ankles, move through your toes. Feel any kind of movement that's waking your feet up. And then switch sides, left knee and right leg stretches long on the floor and enjoy. Feel the stretch of your leg, the stretch of your crown. Feel the movement of your feet. Feel the deep compression in your hip. All right, and then come back, knees up and pull your knees apart and back together. And you decide if you want circles or straight lines or semicircles. How do you want to move your hips right now as you bring them out and in? All right, and then let's go ahead and stretch into a spread out starfish. Arms and legs come wide on the floor. And then relax here before drawing your knees into your chest. And let's just move into your right arm from your navel. So find that connection from your center. Navel stretching to your right hand and then back. Navel stretching to your left hand and then back. And just find the connections in your body. Navel to your right foot and then back. This can be a stretch feeling or just an energy feeling. Navel to your left foot and then back. Navel to all four and then knees into your chest. Pick up your head, feel the slight compression, and let's spread out again. Deep breath in, follow the breath. Exhale, knees into the chest and relax your spine on the floor. Go ahead and roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. Okay. Finding all fours, and let's move through some cat-cows. Take your time. Imagine this was the only pose you were going to do today. So how would you feel in cat-cow if cat-cow was your only opportunity to be in your practice and your breath and to be in the presence of your body? See what it feels like to move through your vertebrae, to enjoy your vertebrae. Stay present with your breath and then move around any way you want to move around. You can pick up your feet and sway your feet left and right. You can sway your hips side to side like a fish. You can move in circles. Anything that feels good in your body. Let things loosen, soften, warm. And then curl the toes under and stretch back to child's pose with your toes curled under. And enjoy the bottom of your feet. Just go back as far as is comfortable for you. Let your head rest toward the floor or on the floor. And then we're going to slide our hands forward so we come into puppy pose. So our knees are underneath our pelvis, our arms are out forward. Drop the chest toward the floor, lift onto your armpits. If your shoulders don't like this, bend your elbows and put your forearms on the floor and find that same feeling of a thoracic back bend. Take your femur bones back and then come back up onto all fours. Swivel things around, move any way you want. And let's find a twist when you're ready. Wait till your spine feels natural after the back bend and lift the left arm up in the air. Slide that shoulder down. Enjoy the space in the back of your body between your shoulder blades. See where your breath naturally goes here. Deep breath in and out. And as we come out of that pose, just turn your torso toward the floor, child's pose with your arm underneath you so that you can stretch the back side of your shoulder a little bit more. Be very careful. Don't overstretch the back side of your shoulder. And then come back up. Bring that arm all the way up to the sky and place the hand down onto the ground. Change sides. Right arm lifting, slide that arm through, twisting here, shoulders away from the ears. Let your head soften toward the floor. Breathing deeply. Spread out the shoulder blades. Feel the deep openness. And then unwind the posture a little bit back towards child's pose. Settle your hips. Let the arm come, back a little bit, stretching the back side of your shoulder. And then inhale and reach that arm all the way back up to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground. Any kind of movement in the spine, some cat-cows, whatever feels nice. And then stretch back to child's pose again. Let the breath happen here. So remember, the breath is our primary tool, whether it's working with effort or working with ease. The breath is our gateway into presence. Presence is the gateway into surrender. If we want to relax and find the fruits of rest, we need to be mindful for it. It's a very different kind of rest than, just doing something mindlessly. Walk the hands over to one side and drop your hips down. Feel open through the rim of the body. And then come back and walk over the other way. Give your breath an opportunity to stretch its legs. Open up the rib cage. See what it feels like to have brightness in there. And then come back to center. Come up to dog pose. Spread out your hands and your feet. Lengthen through your spine. If you want to make this pose even more restorative, you can put a block underneath your forehead so that your head is resting on something. You can also put your hands against a wall so you have some sense of stability, but you don't have to do any of those things. We won't be here for a super long time, but if your head feels better right now with some support against it, by all means, grab a block.
And then lengthen through your spine. Enjoy the openness of the body. Root into the hands and the feet. Feel your sense of yielding. Yielding is a gateway to restfulness, to feel energy recharge you. Kind of conduit. We hook ourselves up into the renewable resource of the earth. Feel free to move around if you need to pedal your feet, bend a knee, opening up the backs of the legs, the back of the body. And then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees as much as you want. Relax. Inhale for a halfway lift. And exhale and melt again. So inversions, you're upside down now. Your head's below your heart. They're really good for us. And they're especially good for us when we have some support. So we're going to do that in a moment. But first, just come on up. Decide how you get up there. If your back's tender, support yourself. Put your hands on your knees. And then when you're ready, lift your arms to the sky. Open yourself up. Breathe, maybe cactus your arms, feel the back of your body a little bit, open your chest, and then exhale and round in. Bring your hands down and shake your hands out. Connect into your fingertips and your wrists. Just let some of that energy go that might be blocked in your hands. Big circles, and then relax. Take your feet hip width or wider apart, and we're just going to sway like we often do, and just going from side to side. And let this be all about just loosening your spine. Okay, as you go back and forth, are you breathing? Are you able to keep steady with your grounding? All right, and then relax. Shake out one more time. Take a breath. Lift your arms. Exhale and float. 2 blocks, maybe more, maybe a chair, maybe a table, whatever you need. You can take your legs wider for this, to the edges of the mat if you want. And we're going to stack up as much height as you need to have some support for underneath your head. So it really just depends on you. And your knees can be bent for this pose. Your legs can be straight for this pose. So the key here is to have the top of your head supported on something. Let the pressure against your head feel good. Deep breaths in, deep breaths away. We're not going to do a shoulder stand or a headstand or a handstand, but we are going to do this. We are going to invert our body a bit. And if for some reason you're not good with going upside down right now, that's okay. You just do you. Make a different choice. Stay in the presence of your breath. All right, and then release. Bring your hands onto the blocks, halfway lift, and then we're going to step our left foot back, our right foot forward. Put your back knee onto the ground. Find a lunge. Enjoy the openness of your hip flexors. Maybe your arms come to the sky. This is as close as you're going to get to a standing pose today. That's if you do what I am teaching, but you can do whatever you want. Okay, open up, feel the sense of space and freedom. And we're going to turn this into a twist. So either elbow to the outer knee or forearm on your knee. You decide. You can bring your hand to your shoulder, or you can just twist open. Whatever feels good. Hug to the midline with your inner thighs. Enjoy the spine. And then come back, reaching the arms upward. Place the hands down onto the ground. Come back onto all fours. Maybe a cat-cow feels good and you just kind of play around with your spine. Maybe you'd rather come to the floor and come into cobra pose a couple of times. So decide what your body's needing right now. And then eventually we're going to bring our left foot forward and our right foot back to a lunge. Lift your back knee off the floor to begin, just so you feel the stretch in the hip flexors. Enjoy the length of your spine. Feel the hugging to the midline with your legs. Deep breaths. And then put your back knee down onto the ground. Rise up, bringing the arms to the sky if it feels nice. Breathe deeply. Remember, the breath is our gateway, it's our guide. And then as you're ready, twisting on this side. Elbow on the outer knee or forearm on your knee. Lift your spine. If your elbow's on your knee, you can cross your hand to your shoulder. Remember, our twists come from breath, come from the stability of our core, not from our bones landing on bones. And then come back to center. One more time, onto your hands and your knees, and move your spine around. You can wag your tail, anything that feels good. I'm gonna come up to dog pose, extend through the spine, and then we're gonna turn sideways on our mat and take our legs really wide. Okay, find your breath. And then we're gonna come down to another inversion here, but with our legs nice and wide. And if you feel, a real need to stretch here, you can kind of come into one leg first and let the inner thigh of that straight leg find some space. Sometimes it's nice to just feel a stretch. It brings us into our body. Go the other side. All right, now come into straight legs. Once again, blocks are here for this inversion. So if you want to, you can stack the blocks up high so that they're underneath your head. And perhaps you'd rather have your hands on the blocks and just let your head dangle. So whatever you're doing, try to access getting your head just at least a little bit lower than the heart, maybe a lot lower than the heart. So whatever, maybe you get all the way to the floor with your head. If you can, take the top of your head on the block and feel that rebound through the spine. Lift the shoulders away from the ears, spread out the bones of the feet, engage your legs, engage your quadricep muscles, try not to push your knees back. How's your breath here? Can you relax and melt the base of your skull? Can you feel the inversion helping you to have that first stage where we just stop? Stop what we're thinking, stop what we're doing, stop how we're being, and just come into the breath. All right, let's heel toe our feet in a little bit more, and we're going to come down onto the ground for child's pose. Grab your bolster for a moment. Have your bolster in, or whatever you've got. So, maybe you have some blankets or, pillows. We're going to bring it in between our legs and come to child's pose on some support. Turn your head one way or the other and just let your body enjoy the introspection of this pose. When our underbelly is supported, we often feel very safe. Just enjoy this feeling. Imagine a lot of space, like your breath is balloons that lift up underneath your sacrum. Can you expand your lumbar spine as you breathe? Maybe turn your head the other way now. What is available to drop and melt? How does your breath feel? Let this pose be the gateway to restoration. So, all the poses now are going to be held and soft. And our goal here is to breathe, to let go and to breathe. And if this is challenging for you, if you're like, no, I just want to move, I want to go, then by all means, stay more. Try to see if you can rise to the challenge of the presence that's required for deep, sustained rest. Come on up. We're going to move our bolster off to the side for a moment, and we're going to find heart bench. So you need your 2 blocks. One block is going to come underneath the base of your skull, and the other is going to be behind your back. So with this, you can either have the block long ways in between your shoulder blades, or especially if you're kind of on the shorter side, having a block across might feel better. Blocks can be very close together, a little further. This is pure experimentation for what your body likes. So as you come into this, the first job is to find where you want the blocks to be. So adjust until you get to a place that, oh, that feels right. So, sometimes every day is a little different when I do this. Sometimes I like the blocks further, sometimes closer. And then decide how, once you get the blocks where you want the blocks to be, decide how you want your legs to be. So just let your arms, we're going to do something with the arms in a moment, but just let them rest at your sides. And decide, do you want your feet on the floor and your knees bent? Do you want your legs straight? Do you want your knees opened to Supta Baddha Konasana? We're going to do Supta Baddha Konasana soon. So wherever you find yourself, see if you're comfortable. Now we're just going to create a little bit more opening just for a breath or two, and then we'll relax our arms again. So grab onto the outer elbows with your hands, so one folding over the other, and then lift your elbows up to the sky and then stretch them overhead. Maybe you've cleared your head, maybe you haven't cleared your head, and maybe this is good for your shoulders and maybe it's not good for your shoulders. So just see where you're available. You could also try changing the cross and holding the other arm on top if you have a little bit of restriction. Just see where your body is able to go. Breathe into this back bend. Breathe into the cultivated space. And then you can go ahead and relax the arms down at your sides after you've opened that channel up. So the arms can be straight out. The arms can be further down, closer to your body. Experiment. Where are you most comfortable? You might, after settling into the breath, realize, oh, I need to block in a slightly different place now. So adjust anything that needs adjusting as you go deeper into the posture. Can you let your head rest back and the brain release tension and melt into the base of your skull? How is your breath? Are you connecting to it? Are you slowing it down? Is it full? Is it present? Are you able to have that slippery skin where everything can kind of slough off of you? Do you feel weighted? Can you let your weightedness make you feel free? Are there layers that you notice peeling away? Before you move out of the pose, dive in deeper for the last few breaths. What can you let go of? What gift can come from this pose that you can receive? Can you be blessed and be the blessing? All right, and as you're ready, Roll over onto your side, bring your knees to your chest, and find your way into just some ease. You can put your head on a block for a moment. Let your back rest and round just a little bit. Can you yield here? Can you give your body over? All right, and then go ahead and come on up. All right. We're going to grab a bolster, or if you don't have a bolster, you can always do this with 2 yoga blankets. So if you open up a blanket like this and fold it long ways, 2 or 3 of these, or maybe, improvise with what you have. You can kind of use that if you don't have a bolster, but you can always find some couch pillows or bed pillows or something to help you. We're going to come straight, 2 legs out, bring the bolster out from your hip. Okay. We're going to come into half virasana. So the bolster's out from our left hip, our left leg is straight, or if you're doing right, then you're doing right. And bend your right knee. And then we're going to twist. Now, if twists are difficult for you, be very gentle with this. Okay, you don't have to go super deep. You're going to turn your belly. Let this hip lift up off the ground. Turn your belly and lay down on the bolster. Now, for some people, this is uncomfortable to have the bolster right up against them, and they prefer to have a gap, where you're just kind of mostly having the bolster underneath your chest. Some people have told me that they like it turning the bolster like this, so that they can have the bolster here. I would never know what to do with my arms because the bolster's in my way when I do it that way, but maybe that works for you. You can turn your head one way or the other. And if for some reason when you began Virasana was difficult, maybe you can bend your knee now and let it just relax. So nothing has to be held tight. Doesn't matter where you end up. See what you can do to have that same quality of feeling that we had in child's pose, where your body could rest on the bolster. Feel your inhales. Feel your exhales. Doesn't matter which way your head ended up turning. Any little adjustments you need to make, go ahead and make. In particular, can you let the exhales drop you? All right, and then when you're ready, we're going to come back up. We're going to bring the bolster to the other side. So once again, if you have trouble with your knee and half virasana is tricky for you, just leave your legs straight to begin. And then once you're turning, it's probably kind of easy for you to just relax your leg. It doesn't have to be in a deep, deep bend. It can just be soft. Okay, so let the hip lift, turn your torso and come to lay down on the bolster. And you decide, head turns left, head turns right. How do you feel? Do you need to adjust the bolster and have it a little further away? What's giving you the capacity to breathe well, to be as deeply in the capacity for that exhale to drop you into surrender? Can your head relax? All right, now when you come up and out of that pose, have a moment to just be neutral for a moment. So that could be child's pose with the bolster in between you again, just finding that neutral spine. It could be just sitting up and feeling the upright spine. So have a moment of neutral, and then we're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana. Now, when we do this, I want you to have the most support you've ever had. So I'll show you what I'm going to do, and then you can figure out what's best. I'm going to have my blocks like heart bench, except not long ways. I'm going to put the block underneath the part that goes underneath your chest short ways. So the blocks are pretty close to each other. Now I do that because I'm kind of short. If you're really long, you might adjust that to be different. Okay, so I'm going to make a ramp for my bolster. So you can use a couch pillow for this really well, because the couch pillows are usually kind of firm. But whatever you have, whatever is available to you. And then I'm also going to have a blanket, one for in underneath each of my knees, for Supta Baddha Konasana. And then I'm going to have a blanket for one for underneath each of my arms. Okay. So I'm creating a little nest, and then I'm going to come into my nest. I'm going to sit with my back against the bolster. And some people like a little extra height under their head. So, prop your ramp up however you see fit. And then the blankets are supporting the outer knees, the outer hips. And then these extra blankets, or pillows rather, I'm putting underneath my forearms. Because we're high on a ramp, if you don't have pillows under your arms, it can feel a little bit like a hang. The heads of your arm bones can kind of hang off the shoulders a little bit too much. So having some pillows underneath your forearms can be very nourishing. So figure it out. If you don't have enough props, you can always do the snake of the blanket. So you can open up a blanket big like this and roll it like a snake. If you have extra blankets, do it the other way. But if you're out of props, you can create a snake and then put the middle of the snake roll over top your feet and tuck the edges underneath the outer hips. So that's a way of conserving blankets if you're running out. Okay. Whatever you're doing, adjust until you feel deeply at ease. This pose is so good. So take the time in the beginning. We're going to be here for a while. Take the time in the beginning to shift around, adjust your position, adjust your props until you really feel like you're not fidgety, that you're supported. And sometimes it's like the elephant in the room. Sometimes if you say to yourself, now don't move, all you want to do is move. So don't say anything to yourself. If you need to move a little, move a little. If you need to be still, be still. Try not to have expectations of how this pose unfolds. Instead, just be in the breath and enjoy the support. There's deep support here. You don't have to hold anything. Every bit of you can drop into support. Feel not only the support of the props, but the gravity, the support of the earth, the support of your breath. Can you melt the base of the skull back into your support? Can you release tension across your face and your forehead? Are you able to rest the base of the skull and the walls of the throat? Feeling freedom in your jaw. How does your chest feel? Are you able to be free? Do your shoulders feel relaxed? Is your spine able to drop? How does your diaphragm feel? Can your breath travel to your pelvis? Are you feeling free? Can your belly be like a giant lake that's free, mobile, deep? Are your legs supported where you can just let go? fully receive this pose. If you find your mind drifting away, just gently bring yourself back to your breath, back to the feeling of surrender, the gift of the pose. See if you can peel the layers little bits by little bits, finding the healing. You get to decide where we're going next. If you're really content, you can stay here. There's no reason why you can't stay in Supta Baddha Konasana for as long as you want. But if you're ready to make a change, we're going to do leg up the wall, yet another inversion that's nice and easy. And if that feels too much for you to do, you can do legs up a chair or legs up a couch or legs up a bed for whatever it is that you want. If you're starting to cool down, make sure you're very warm. So if you have extra blankets to put on you, warmth is the friend of rest. If you need support for Supta Baddha or for Viparita Karani, leg up the wall pose, you can take a blanket underneath your pelvis. You can do the higher version with the bolster underneath your pelvis, maybe even a bolster and a blanket with, the two blocks against the wall so that you have a little gap for your pelvis to drop into. You can have support underneath your head with a little blanket if you need that. There's no rules, there's only principles. Your only goal here is to be comfortable. If you're staying in Supta Baddha Konasana, just return to your deep place. As you make changes and settle, find once again that feeling of surrender, the sense of yielding, the gift of gravity and the earth holding you from top and bottom. The breath as all that really is. All that is the breath right now. If you changed position, marvel at what's different. That you can be in a restorative pose and have that sensation of rest in very different ways. Once again, letting the skin be slippery, any tension patterns just sliding right off of you. Staying present for the sensation of your breath. Can you rest the back of your head? Can you rest your shoulders? If your legs are up the wall, can you feel the rooting, that grounding of the heavy femur bones settling into the pelvis? As you begin to think about moving towards Shavasana, decide whether you even want to move. Maybe you want to stay where you are. So if you are transitioning to a different position, decide how you want to be for Shavasana and decide not only what kind of support you want, but is there anything posture-wise that you need to do to be comfortable? Do you need to have a little movement of the spine or anything to help you settle into your variation, whatever that looks like, of Shavasana? So as you take the time to find whatever's coming next, try to keep your mind in that calm place that you've been cultivating this whole time. Support yourself in any way you need, whether it's eye pillows and heavy blankets over you or props underneath you. Make sure you're warm. Make sure you're comfortable. And as you let yourself rest, once again, can you feel the gift of the pose? It's never self-indulgent to rest, especially if your rest is very mindful. So stay with your breath and the resting body.
Let's begin to deepen our breathing. Just going to read one of the paragraphs again to you while you're coming back into your breath, feeling the room around you. In the first state of rest is the sense of stopping, of giving up on what we've been doing or how we have been being. In the second is the sense of slowly coming home, the physical journey into the body's uncoerced and unbullied self, as if trying to remember the way or even the destination itself. In the third state is a sense of healing and self-forgiveness and of arrival. In the fourth state, deep in the primal exchange of the breath, is the give and the take, the blessing and the being blessed, and the ability to delight in both. The fifth stage is a sense of absolute readiness and presence, a delight in and an anticipation of the world and all its forms, a sense of being the meeting itself between inner and outer, and that receiving and responding occur in one spontaneous movement. So just notice if you were able to reach any of that. And find your way into some movement coming onto your side. You might need some waking, so if you want to stretch your arms overhead and squeeze, you can do some vigorous coming out of Shavasana. And as you're ready, sit up straight and tall. Now, even though rest can make you sleepy, rest can restore you. So as you rev the engines back up in the mind and in the body and go about your day, can you bring a piece of this practice with you? That sense of readiness and presence, being blessed and offer blessings. Our response being sure to be coming from a deep, centered place. Offer your prayers, your energy outward. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a